Hello and welcome to Whiteboard Sessions with me, Andrew Maff. I'm the founder and CEO of BlueTuskr, a full-service digital marketing company for e-commerce sellers. And today, I'm going to go through the perfect process for creating blog articles to leverage your SEO for your e-commerce business. So I'm going to go ahead and dive right into first the exact reason that you're here watching this video is why the hell do you even need blog articles in the first place? Blogging is not for my business. Most of the time, you're wildly incorrect. Sometimes I have come across situations where I go, all right, blogs may not be great for your business. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to go off theory. I'm going to Kaiser Soze this thing, and I'm going to do an example. So we're on a YouTube channel, and we sell lights, right? So we sell lights that are great for creating content, right? So I have one of those big old ring things, and I've got a couple other things in here. So let's say we sell those lights, right? So our business is lights. So we sell lights. First thing you're going to want to think about, who are you targeting? In this scenario, we're basically targeting YouTube people, so people who have their own YouTube channel. So one of the things you want to do first is create a customer profile and a brand voice guideline. There's a ton of templates online. You can pull information about questions you have to ask to figure out who your customer is. We have one internally. If you want it, just shoot me a message and we'll get it to you. But basically, it's just a big old list of like, who is your customer? And then it's another big old list of who are you speaking as? What you want to figure out is exactly who you're talking to and exactly who you're going to speak as. So you want to make sure that if this person's in a great mood, you have someone who's super excited and talks, like, really knows what they're talking about, but is really excited, and so you can cater to them. So basically, customer profile, brand voice guideline, get onto the same page so your copy comes out the same way, right? Cool. So we're selling lights. First thing you want to do, keywords, right? You got to figure out our keywords. So first thing we want to do is we want to figure out what do we want to rank for? Why, like, what are we ranking for? You have the most obvious, right? So you have your products. Woo. That's products. And then you also have your brand name. So if you have a crazy brand name that no one's ever heard of, like, I don't know, BlueTuskr, ranking for your brand name is pretty easy. But if you have a brand name that's a little bit more general, you're going to want to make sure that you include your brand name on all your pages and in all of your blog posts and all that stuff to kind of get that brand name back up there. And then you have the obvious, which is products. But then you have really the ones that you really want to focus on. And that's going to be anything that attracts your audience. So any kind of relevant terms that your audience is interested in. So we'll just call these audience terms. And by the way, this says audience terms. I don't even know why I do whiteboard sessions where I have to write. I have terrible handwriting. So we're going to call these audience terms. And so basically what that's referring to is anything relevant to who your audience is targeting, not necessarily to your business. So in this scenario, we're selling lights, right? None of this is going to have to do with lights. Or very little of it is going to have to do with lights. This will be a little bit more catered to lights. So we're going to figure out all these terms. And how do you figure those terms out, right? The first thing you want to do is figure out, like, okay, what do we sell? And then who are we selling to? And come down with like a bunch of words that you think would be relevant, right? You're not 100% sure, just come up in your head, you're going to know your business better than you are. Then from there, use a certain platform that will give you some data behind this stuff. So let's say we use SEMrush internally, but you also have Moz, you have Ahrefs, you have Neil Patel's like Uber Suggest and all that fun stuff, or Keywords Everywhere. There's also, I think Keyword Shitter is another one I saw the other day, which was hilarious. So there's a ton of them, right? So you can find all these different stuff. And what you do is you start plugging in the terms into this different software, and basically what's going to happen is, like, if you did like YouTube lights, right? So let's say you did YouTube lights, it should spit out for you a ton of different variations of those terms, okay? The other thing it's going to give you is your cost per click for that term, projected, your competitive advantage for that term, and then of course your search volume for that term, right? So now what you're going to want to do, this is going to come down to a per category, per company kind of thing, but you're going to want to figure out what's my target term for search volume, cost per click, and competitiveness. You're going to find a sweet spot where you go, okay, anything that has this type of competitiveness with this range, cost per click with this range, search volume is exactly what I rank for, and then you start to pull reports based on that parameter, but for now we're starting from scratch, right? So we find all these different terms, we're going to do that. The first thing you're going to want to do is create what we refer to and what a lot of people refer to as a pillar piece. So it's going to be a big old article. We usually say about 5,000 words, give or take. You don't want to force it because then it comes fluffy. but you also don't want to leave it light. So we usually suggest doing 5,000 terms. And so now let's say we do YouTube lights and we have all these different variations. That pillar piece is going to be very general. It's going to be something along the lines of why you need lights, or the best lights for your YouTube channel, or why you need lights for your YouTube channel, something like relatively broad. And what you're going to want to do is get really deep into the top ones, the top lights to have, why you need a light, how to set up your light, when to use your light, when not to use your light, the types of videos that it's good for your light, all these different things. And you're going to get a lot of that data from all these terms. What you're going to do is you're going to break out all these terms into smaller one-off articles. And usually these we say like 1,000, 1,500 words, give or take. So let's say we do like 1,000 words. And what we start to do is we write all these other smaller articles, right? And so all these small articles are going to link to this pillar page, and then this pillar page is going to also link to each of these guys. But what's going to happen is you're basically telling Google, like, hey, there's all this information that's rated, that's relevant to this topic. And so Google's going to focus on this one, and it's going to start to drive that one up. And then if you have all of your products that are ranking to each of these as well, it's going to bring your products up with it. Now, the question is, how do you start writing these, right? So you have all these different terms. So what we say is like, okay, so for this pillar piece, we want to focus on the term YouTube lights. And so now we know, based on some of the reports that you can pull from some of these things, they will tell you, hey, with this term, these are a lot of articles that show up first, or these are a lot of questions that people ask. What we take is what questions are people asking, and then we write an article based on it. So we can do like, if people ask, like, what are the top lights to use for my YouTube channel? We're going to do X top lights for YouTube, right? Top lights for YouTube. So we're going to do X top lights for YouTube. What we're going to do is we're going to take basically top lights for YouTube, and we're going to put that into Google, and we're going to grab the top 3 or 4 or 5 articles that are ranking for that term. Now, you don't want anyone that's running an ad, you don't want any of the SERP stuff for now, we're just going to grab these. And what you're going to do is then you're going to write a little bit of information around, like, all right, these are the lights I want to list, things like that. Then you're going to take all that information, you're going to give it to your writer, okay? So let your writer go do it, or if you have one of those AI things, do it there. So then you have your writer go and write this out. From there, what's going to happen is you now have your article, go through your edits if you're with your writer if you need to, add in some pictures, break it up so that it's user-friendly, and then you're just going to publish it, right? Said and done, congratulations, go sell your stuff. That's where most sellers end, and that's what drives me crazy, is they write it, and then they post it, and then that's it, and they expect it to rank. And they go, why aren't I getting anything? Why is nothing happening? There's 2 reasons. One, you can't just publish an article. You have to drive traffic to it first, especially in the beginning of your business. If you've got existing traffic going already, you might not have to as much. But in the beginning, put it on social, put it in an email, send it out to people you might know. Anything you can do to kind of get that traffic up there, because a lot of the signals Google takes in is traffic on the site, then bounce rate, time spent on page, engagement, things like that. So you're going to want to kind of pour some gas on that fire and let Google start to see this page. The other thing you want to do is go straight to Google Console as soon as you publish it and have Google index it. Google will index it on its own, but it may take a while before it actually happens. So we go straight to Google Console and tell Google, like, hey, this page is new, so go check it out. Then the other issue that I see a lot of sellers make is after they've done that, they move on to the next article and they keep writing and then they forget all about that one. We have a system where essentially every few months we go back to the original article and we go see, okay, is there anything else we need to add to this? Maybe we should change the title. Maybe we should tweak some images. Maybe we should add a little bit more section to it. So maybe it was a 1,000-word article. Maybe now I want to make it a 1,500-word article. I want to change it, update it, and republish it. If you go and search on Google any search term, chances are you'll see most of those pages on the most of those articles on the first page are all going to be published within the past couple of months. And then if you look at some other terms, yeah, they might be as big as a year because a lot of people aren't writing about it. And in other terms, it could be like, hey, every article on here is written in the past week. So by consistently updating it, you're showing Google, like, hey, I'm keeping this information updated. It's accurate. I went and changed it again. I keep it updated. And it's basically Google will rerun it and it will put it back to the top. So with all of that, by going back and updating it, from there, with you telling Google that it's updated, we've done this several times where we'll see an article that we haven't touched in 6 months, and it's on page 2 or 3, and we'll tweak it, and boom, page 1. So now the question is, how do you tweak it? What do you know to tweak? There's a science to it a little bit, and then there's also just the creative side. So the science to it is going to be figuring out, taking this article and putting it into SEMrush, putting it into any of your software programs that you use, and figuring out what is it currently ranking for, right? And so then you want to look at like, all right, what terms is it not ranking that well for, that you want it to be ranking higher for? Okay, so these are, it's ranking on page 8, 9, and 10 for these. Let me go take those and add them in a little bit more into that article. Let me put it in an H2 tag. Let me put it as an alt tag on one of the images. So now you're basically telling Google, like, hey, there's more information around this term on this article, right? The other thing to do is we use something called SEO Server, where essentially, or Surfer SEO, I think it's Surfer SEO, SEO Server, it's not one of those. And you go and look it up, and basically you can actually take your article, plug it in there, take those 3 top articles, and it will actually tell you, like, hey, add more of this term, change out this image, break this up a little bit. It will tell you comparatively what these articles are doing that you're doing that you should have done in the first place. So basically that will allow you to refresh your article. And so now, if you consistently do this with all of these, this article will continue to go up, each of these will go up, and because each of these is like a variation of something that's going on in that pillar piece, these will start to rank, which will take this one and start to bring it up as well, which obviously means you want to take your products and make sure that you're linking them also, because all of those will start to bring it up. SEO is all intertwined across your entire site, but if you start to write articles based around specific variations for a certain topic, you're going to cover all of your bases in terms of different variations of terms that starts to go up, and as long as you're ranking your products, your product ranking will go up with it. Outside of all that, the obvious that I always see sellers don't do is they just post the blog post and they don't put any kind of nice stuff on there, like put a CTA about some new products that you have. Make sure you have maybe a pop-up or a sidebar, or put in your own display ads on it. Make sure that it is optimized enough to get emails, whether you have gated content or something like that. But this is the exact process we follow that we have proven out and has worked fantastically, and I highly, highly recommend looking into it, mainly because cost per clicks are going up, which means your cost per acquisition is going up. Everything that you do for SEO now, you will thank yourself later. So this can take months for SEO to start to really move and get enough traffic for it to justify. But the best part about SEO and focusing on this that I always tell sellers is that if one day you have a budget issue and you can't afford a writer anymore to write articles or something along those lines, and you stop making articles, for a very long time, your SEO will maintain and it will keep going. So it's almost like you're going to stop spending, but you'll keep getting the benefits of your SEO. Paid advertising, as soon as you stop your budget, paid advertising is gone and it's off. This is an asset. This is building an asset on your business, building out the traffic, and building out the people you can continue to bring to your site. Highly recommended it. I will get off my pedestal now. But please make sure you rate, review, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Comment below if I missed anything or if you want more clarification. And then, of course, let me know if there's another video you'd like us to do here. But if not, I will see you all next time and appreciate you coming out. Have a good one.